MicroStrategy is just like a weird derivative of Bitcoin. And I'm getting bearish on Bitcoin, to be honest. I think Bitcoin is due for a break. I think Trump is going to support crypto made in the US. I'm not sure he's going to support Bitcoin. Be wary of jumping on bandwagon and putting the top in. Bitcoin has had a lot of rides up and down, a lot of roller coasters. You can still like something and think it's due for a pullback. Doesn't mean you're bearish on it forever. All right, so these guys make Kafka. It's kind of the event streaming, event database. Haven't looked at it in a while. Yeah, KROS looks attractive. I'm just looking at Confluent for now. Yeah, I think it's a short. I think MicroStrategy is a short. Okay, so Confluent makes Kafka really successful business. Let's look at the stock. So we're actually a customer of these guys. Pretty good product. Very straightforward financials. Sort of break even, still in growth mode type of software company. I think MicroStrategy is a good short for the long run. How do you know what the future price is going to be? Do you have a crystal ball? I see you're looking into the crystal ball. Hold on, mine is in the shop. I'll get mine back tomorrow. I see future prices. All right, so we're looking at Confluent. It's a $9 billion software company. It was founded in 2014. So in 10 years, these guys made a $9 billion company. Pretty impressive. They made Apache Kafka while they were at LinkedIn. So they're a bunch of engineers. So very similar to Mongo. Yeah, we use Red Panda. So I guess that's one risk. One risk for Kafka. One risk for Confluent, which sort of is Kafka. A lot of the wheat companies are actually unprofitable. I'd short DJT now. So you like the stocks, you like the industry, but you don't have a stock that you actually like. Have you heard of something called valuation? How do you like something without a price? Yeah, we definitely are coming out with fixed income at some point. Hopefully soon. Yeah, you got to learn what valuation is, BDACL. It doesn't sound like you trade the market too much. You're about as cringe as it gets. I don't know, Confluent looks like fairly valued to me. Valuation always matters. The price you pay for something is basically all that matters. Sometimes biotech stocks rally when a trial fails because the market can focus on their next drug. Okay, RVPH. No, I don't think it's stupid to say stay away from crypto if you don't understand it and you don't want to be involved in it. That's fine. I mean, Palantir is a well-run company. Like, it could certainly be a good hold for the long term. I like how Elizabeth Warren says candidate Trump. Actually, president-elect. Ah, he has me blocked. Why? I'm a member. The state of the Sava address is now public, still pinned. Come on, Joe, it's nothing personal. When you search for Joe Springer, the state of the Sava address is the last thing to play. Come on, man. You can make another video. We need to follow a video. I don't know about Rigetti and when it will go down, but it will go down. I think the rich guy will give up. I mean, most guys like that who get into a space that they don't know, you know, typically they just kind of move on. Okay, so we have Corvus, Galt, and Umora. They're still all supposed to announce results in December. There's only so many days left in December. So I don't live near the office, no, actually. But I am going to jump in a cab and head to the office. Wow, Bitcoin 106. This thing is running. DJT almost $40. Wild. Inovac showing signs of life. Even IonQ is up. Nomura said it could be January. Yeah, Anonymous, I'm not sure we're going to see good data out of Corvus, no matter what the CEO says. Viridian, I didn't look at the press release, but I never thought it was a big short. I don't know why people thought it was a short. Don't have too many opinions on Broadcom. Sure, Ches, when I get some time, I will. Just focused on other things. I don't know when it'll kind of drop, but, you know, obviously it's a kind of a momentum situation. So when you short these things, you got to be prepared to. I don't think institutions are excited about quantum, though. I think it's just normies. Yeah, MicroStrategies is a short. When exactly? How exactly? To be determined. I don't know, Michael. I don't think there's a infinite money glitch. Maybe there is an infinite money glitch. I don't know. All right, the request is for this microcap company, RVPH. I think they just had data. I don't know a lot about it. I know some people on Godel have been long it. Open label extension is not too valuable. Oh, okay, yeah, open label data is not that useful. I mean, it's good for the NDA package, but I can't see this being like that relevant to like whether the drug works or not. It seems like if they're gonna file, so what keeps them from filing an NDA now? Stock market is pumped up fund. Feels about right. Well, yeah, that's why you have to be long some pumped up funds too. You know, if you're long, I mean, look at Palantir dropping. The good stocks are going down, the bad stocks are going up. That just means we have the wrong stocks. For now, at least. That'll change. Did Armistice buy 9.9? Interesting. Steve's a very good investor. Or did he go below 9.9? I don't know. Sometimes it's not easy to read these. Cupertino Company, interesting. Okay, so they're gonna do Recover 2. They have to do Recover 2 to get approval. Oh, okay. The thing about schizophrenia is there's so many drugs, but they keep selling well, even though there are so many generics. Yeah, I think you could short Rigetti and short IonQ. Useless, worthless companies, just people getting excited for no reason. Quantum will have its day, but it's a long time from now. I don't think the quantum excitement will last long because there's no reason for it to. There's nothing else to be positive about. All right, so I'm working on NVPH right now. I'm sorry, RVPH. Yeah, so the antipsychotics are interesting. Like, even though there's they're all the same. They're D2 antagonists. Psychiatrists don't really think they're all the same. And it's like kind of a little bit of a bizarre thing. They're not dedicated to short. There's no broker dedicated to shorting that I'm aware of. So intracellular, it's a good example, but we're going to look at some of the other D2 antagonists and see how they did, even though they're so they would get approval in 2027. And let's see how ITCI did. So ITSI is intracellular, it's publicly traded, and they did what these guys are trying to do. They launched their own antipsychotic. And you can see that they got to 8 billion, 9 billion market cap. So like, not bad. Not bad at all. See if we can get to, let's see, when did they get approval? It's called Caplyta, also known as lumateperone. I'm going to go on FDA.gov. So they have this thing called Drugs at FDA. It's a very handy site. I would bookmark it if I were you. You can look and see they got approval originally in 2019, which makes it really clean. Look up, I guess they've had about 3 full years of revenue. And again, a lot of people are skeptical because this was just another D2 antagonist. But all these drugs have like slightly different flavors. The psychiatrists kind of think they're all a little different, which is weird. But I think the psychiatrists, like, because they only have so many medicines to use, they kind of get tricked themselves a little bit into thinking that like these drugs are different when they're not that much different. Pipes we've talked about them. The bulls are on parade, boys. We gotta play the song. Well, Caplyta is just the same old D2, whereas the BMS drug, what are they calling it? Cobenfy? That's a really strong new mechanism. Yeah, some people say clozapine is different. I have my own reservations there, Brian. I almost bought clozapine from Novartis. I was gonna raise the price, as you can imagine, as I do, as I always do.
And I was going to try to solve the 𝗟𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗓𝗔𝗠𝗔 issue. They have a March 2028 patent. That's not good for 𝗓𝗊𝗔𝗐𝗍. I mean, if they only have 3 or 4 years left, this could be a great short. I'll have to look at those patents more closely. Maybe they get patent term extension or something. I don't know. No, there's no great biomarkers in psychiatry. Yes, I know, Anna. I don't think antidepressants cause depression. Antidepressants are very modest drugs. People think about them too hard. All right, so 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗘. Here's the interesting thing about 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗘. New drug for schizophrenia. Sold 462 million last year. On track to sell quite a bit more this year. Sold 249 million the year prior. And 81 million. I think that's the first full year. Yeah. Right? Because that was 2019. No, 2020 must have been the first full year. So they didn't have very much sales in 2020. I wonder if they were just launching it. Let's take a look. Go back 110K. And 𝗥𝗘𝗢𝗄 is so handy. I should probably just look at the FA component, but just like on Bloomberg, I want to see the original source myself. Okay, so yeah, 2020 looks like it was 22 million. Yeah, 22,530. Okay, so this was the ramp up for these guys. And I think they're close to a blockbuster now. Let's take a look. Yeah, wow, impressive. But we can get 2 for 1 and analyze. That's why I love analyzing one industry, because you can learn so much about several companies in one shot. Whereas a lot of times in tech or some other industries, you don't really quite get that benefit. So here we're analyzing RVPH, but we're learning a lot about 𝗓𝗊𝗘𝗓𝗓𝗓, and that maybe 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 could be a good short, because 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 they're selling really well, but the drug's going to go off patent very soon. Which I've been in that situation many times with shorts, and like, if your drug's going off patent, there's very little you can do. The Indian generic monsters are coming for you. I am in my office, my software company. I had an ankle monitor for the first couple of months after I was released, but I no longer haven't had an ankle monitor in about 2 years. Okay, so really impressive results for these guys. I just want to get a couple more quarters in here. Sean, I mean, markets are supposed to anticipate, right, future cash flows. It doesn't matter when those future cash flows end. I mean, think about bonds. Markets are very good at calculating the value of bonds that are, expiring 20 or 30 years from now. So the whole point of finance is that we can analyze the life cycle of assets. That is like literally the idea of finance. So that's the same thing with drug patents. Any sophisticated player would look at these patents, analyze them really carefully, and say, wait a second, I'm only going to get this much cash flow. Why would I be interested in that? Now, there's always the pipeline, and there's always the possibility that the patent gets extended, or that there's a patent I'm missing, or I don't understand it. So at first blush, yes, the patents look like they're going to expire very soon. But if you're going to make a convincing bet on it, a large bet, you have to study it very carefully. Make sure the market's not manipulated. I don't know what you're talking about. I think a lot of retail investors think the market's manipulated. It's just hard. I mean, it's hard to manipulate a market. No, I wouldn't say most clinical trials are a good short. Really what happens is some companies start phase 2s or phase 3s that they shouldn't, because they have the pressure from managers or from their board, from shareholders, or they think they have the pressure, or they have an adverse incentive where it makes sense for them to continue clinical development when they shouldn't, because they don't have other assets and they don't want to admit failure. And when you see what I'm doing with Galectin, GALT, which to me is a lot like sava, I think you'll enjoy seeing the reasoning behind this is often psychological. A manager will spend their whole life studying one thing and they can't let it go that their idea didn't work. And this is the case with GALT. And I found some things that I think a lot of people don't know about GALT, which is very funny, some of which are very funny. Yeah, it's even worse than that. oftentimes nem, Jeff. It could be 90%. All right, so anyway, it looks like they'll do 672 for 2024. And they'll probably do like 1 billion, maybe 1 billion. They'll cross 1 billion. So by the time the patent expires, 2028, even if it was pure cash flow, right? There's an FDA website called Orangebook, which I also recommend you bookmark. So you can just type the drug's name here, 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗆𝗢, hit enter. It doesn't matter which one of these you click, but I click this one. And you have all the information here. And now let's go to the patent and exclusivity information. Here are all the patents that they filed. And you can see they all center around 2029, almost all of them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at these and see what the earliest one is. And that's usually the composition of matter patent, because after all, if you haven't yet invented the drug, like, it doesn't make sense to have an invention about the drug that you haven't invented yet. So in any event, here's the patent, and you can see they're claiming a molecule. So this, you cannot invent something twice. What's up, Fanta? You can't invent a drug twice. So that sort of makes it impossible to have two composition of matter patents. There is the possibilities of a genus-species patent conflict. It's fairly rare. Usually you invent the drug once, and you have an expiration date, and there's sort of their expiration date. There is one like little quizzical thing that you do have to worry about, which is patent term restoration, but we can look into that. So anyway, this is patent. I'm really more looking at intracellular than I am at RVPH at this point, so let me just add that to our list here. Reminds me of the movie Interstellar. Great movie. Yeah, that wasn't new data. I am going to look for the patent. That's the key. Psilocybin does not cure schizophrenia. That is misinformation. You can kind of tell if a patent's been extended, actually. So here's their filing date, 2019. When was it granted? Let's Google. This is so bad. Could always do this. 11/5/19. I wonder if this is actually the composition of matter then. It also says here how much it's been extended. It's a very weird patent. I want to see why that's the case. I like the Robinhood stock. I'm not sure I like the platform that much. I want to get behind the mystery of this patent. So here's a provisional filed in 2007. That might be why. Yeah. So 2007 plus 20 is 2027. And they expire 3/12/2028, which is 21 years. There's no patent that's 21 years, so they have 20 years. Maybe they got a year of Hatch-Waxman extension. Well, here they have this patent, 8309722. They may not talk about that. I wouldn't talk about it either if I had a patent that old. Okay, here's an old patent that they do have here. 11/4/2028, but on Orangebook it says 3/12/2028. Well, and this looks like a synthesis patent, which is like, what? This isn't even an Orangebook, which is a little strange. Those are always funny. Sad attempts to get your patent extended. More crystalline structure is not an invention. Methods in composition for sleep maintenance. Okay, that's not a patent. Next. You already looked at this one. Okay, all these patents are kind of garbage. Let me look at the reissued patents. Those could be real. This is our favorite. That's the mechanism. That's the actual compound. These are all like method of use. Yeah, capsule. Okay, what's this? So here, I don't quite understand this. This is like a second, this might be the species patent. This is lumateperone. No, this is not lumateperone. That is lumateperone. That is not. That is some random new drug. I don't see how this protects lumateperone. It's a different molecule. All right, let's look at the reissues. I mean, these reissues are just 2029 anyway, so it's not particularly that great. And there's salt patents, the crystal patent, that's not useful. And this one is sleep disorders. Okay, so this drug is gone in 2028. And so look at this. Look at this chat. This is crazy to me, okay? This is like good finance. Let's teach you something. A lesson you will never forget. All right. 28, the cash flow for this drug is gone, right? These are all US sales, so they actually at some point will get taxed. Okay, but this is the cash flow left for the drug, right? The market cap right now, or the enterprise value right now, it's actually $84 stock, so it's around 8 billion. Do you agree with me that if this patent expires in 2028, this is all that's left, right? All that's left. Next 4 years. Patent's gone in 2028, end of 2028. Actually, I'm giving them credit for all of 2028. So let's discount this by just 7%. That's a really low discount rate. That's 2.9 billion, right? This is Luma residual cash flows. The cash on hand is 1 billion. The value of the company, therefore, is 4 billion. But the market cap's 9 billion. You can't get a new patent. You can only invent something once. Now, another possibility is the sales go up really fast. So they go up by, I don't know, 35%. Still don't get there, right? This is the market cap. So even if they go crazy, revenue is unheard of, it's still 50% downside. We can go see what's in their pipeline, if they have a pipeline. Yeah, it's usually close to zero, Ruther. I mean, it's not always zero, but it's pretty fast usually. I think they said they're going to get 6 months of exclusivity, so you can add 6 months maybe, but so let's look at the, oh, they're doing major depressive disorder. So I think that, again, maybe they feel like they could launch for depression. You're launching a drug that's going to expire in 3 years. Here's a pipeline program, ITI 1284. Oh, they have a big pipeline. They have PDE1 inhibitors. They have a long-acting injectable. Yeah, nothing in that pipeline really rivets me. Oh, 1284 is deuterated lumateperone. That's just lumateperone part 2. I like the deuterated idea. So deuteration, for anybody that doesn't know, is a trick to get a new patent. basically hydrogen usually has no neutrons. But if you add hydrogen to a neutron to a hydrogen, it doesn't change its electrical bonding, but it does change, technically, you can get a new patent. Yeah, it's cheating. Trust me, I wanted to deuterate a lot of drugs myself. Listen, it's within the law, right? Now, if I did it, I'm sure they'd change it up. But yeah, there's basically zero change. You just make it slightly radioactive. Mostly companies haven't done it. Well, the thing is, you'd have to get the new drug, so you don't extend the old drug. You get a brand new FDA-approved drug that's deuterated. But what's interesting is they're not studying it for the same diseases. They're studying it for other diseases. So agitation and psychosis and Alzheimer's and sava bag holders. General anxiety disorder, which really does need a new treatment, but I'm not sure if this is the drug for that. Maybe. And then maybe people will just assume. They'll just sort of assume that it works. Yeah, the old drug would go generic, but they would have a new drug and a new lease on life, theoretically. And they maybe have a couple years to switch, but it doesn't look like they're going to have the time to switch. Like, theoretically, the deuterated would come online, I don't know, maybe right as it's expiring. So, yeah, I mean, the market's very frothy right now. I don't know why the quantum stocks are up. They will come back down. It's sort of like the dot-com bubble. You need to be able to either take the pain or have some other stocks, ideally, that are going up. But, the bulls are running very aggressively. That is a good point, Sardine. It's just a way to trick doctors into using it. So the reason we did this whole analysis in the first place wasn't exactly to look at Intracellular too carefully. But yeah, it seems like a company that's going to have a hard time. Now that new depression launch, I mean, theoretically, they could grow even faster than this. Let's say they do something like this. Okay, now you're talking about the stock price is fairly valued. Now, will they get to $4.5 billion in revenue? It's not going to be easy, but that's kind of what they're working on. So anyway, we can look at the first 5 years of their sales and put them in our RVPH model. So this was 𝗔𝗐's first 4 years of sales, and I think it went as well as these things could even go. And I think this first year was like a partial year. So I want to see maybe when did they start. But in any event, let's say this is what happens to the RVPH drug. Now we got to figure out if the RVPH drug has any patent life. Either any which way you get 5 years, because it's a new molecule. But it costs a lot to run these sales forces. It's not like 𝗔𝗐's made a fortune or anything. I'd be very generous on the low expenses. That's usually quite a bit more. Between now and then, you do have to spend a bunch of money. So something like that might be what they would have to spend. And there's a lot of risk. So I'll make the discount rate 10%. And the NPV of RVPH would be high dollar-wise. But here's the trick. We don't know how many shares outstanding they're going to be. There's 33 now. But it's a $3 stock, and they need to raise, say, 100 more. So divide this by 3, divide this by 3, that's another 30 million shares outstanding. Current shares outstanding is 33. So new shares outstanding, let's say 60. So you would still get a $6 stock, and it's currently a $3 stock. So it might, or $2.70. So it might be a buy. It might be a buy. And the dilution I'm predicting for these two may be less than I thought. Yeah, Human can announce today, sure. These are very generous margins. It probably looks worse than this. And again, we don't know what the patent life is. And that's assuming they execute, which they may or may not execute. Let's see here. Looking for the patent. Okay. Ooh, old patent. Expires 2030. Not good. So it might be 5 and out, which isn't good. Yeah, I'm not sure I would develop it. May not be worth developing it because you really don't know what it's going to cost to field this. Like ITCI, I think, poured a ton of money. Let's look back at that one. They poured a ton of money into their promotion. Again, yeah, it's sort of the same price when I started shorting it. This is when I started shorting it. You can see it dropped a lot, pretty much instantly. So it's basically at my original price.